This is Mac OS Ken.
A bullish analyst sees a tech bull market, considering sideloading in third-party app stores for iPhone, and nominations and awards for Apple. It is Tuesday, the 14th of November, 2023. I'm Ken Ray, and this is news from Mac OS Ken, brought to you by yours truly and sponsored by Green Chef, the @1 meal kit for eating well. For Green Chef's best deal of the year, get $250 off with code MOK250 at greenchef.com/MOK250. This show is also supported by people like you, patrons through Patreon. Find out more and add your support at patreon.com/MacOSCan. Wedbush analyst Daniel Ives has entered his dance mix phase, it seems. You know how bands in the 80s and 90s would put out 7-inch EPs with a new song and either remixes of old songs or dance mixes of the new one? Yeah, a Seeking Alpha piece on a note he wrote Monday kind of had that feel. On the newness, he predicted big things for tech in 2024. He and his are looking for spending on cloud and artificial intelligence to rise between 20% and 25% next year versus the street's estimate of modest growth. Quoting his note, "We believe the new tech bull market has now begun and tech stocks are set up for a strong 2024 as the AI spending tidal wave hits the shores of the broader tech sector." And the rest of it was a mashup of past notes. Or maybe just a cut and paste. Quoting the note that Seeking Alpha says it got yesterday, but I'm pretty sure we heard last week, as we discussed in detail once the dust cleared from Apple's quarter and guidance, investors would focus through the noise around weak iPads, Macs, and foreign exchange headwinds, and instead see iPhone units that are growing again, with services back to steady double-digit growth. Finally, the iPhone China demise narrative was a great fictional story by the bears, which is far from the reality, as underlying mainland China growth remains strong and a key asset for the core iPhone franchise. Seriously, hand that jam off to Skrillex. And the hits of yesterday keep playing today. Ives also repeated his stance that AI is a 1995 moment for technology, according to the report, making reference to the birth of the consumer internet. He also reiterated his firm's top picks for tech, with Apple at the top of that list. Mr. Ives has an outperform rating on Apple shares. His price target on the shares is $240. Despite talk over the past couple of days that Apple plans to appeal EU requirements that iPhone be open to sideloading in third-party app stores, sideloading and third-party app stores for iPhone are being seen as a done deal. Scratch that. They're being seen as a foregone conclusion. How the deal gets done is very much an up-in-the-air thing. Mac Rumors has Bloomberg's Mark Gurman indicating that Apple could go with a highly controlled system for installing apps hosted outside the App Store. Sadly, I cannot find that quote. An article I saw on iDownload blog seemed to assume that that highly controlled system would be a deterrent aimed at consumers. While that is possible, it seems more likely to me, if you'll allow me, that those controls would be more of a deterrent to developers working with third-party app stores and companies setting up third-party app stores. Anyway, that's what it sounded like in the past. In a December 2022 report, says Mac Rumors, Gurman said Apple was considering implementing security requirements, such as verification, a process that it could charge a fee for in lieu of collecting money from app sales. Apple has a verification system on Mac that allows users to be safe while giving them access to apps outside of the Mac App Store. Around the same time as Gurman's December 2022 report, a couple of Apple-watching financial analysts greeted sideloading talk with something of a yawn from a business standpoint. A little under a year ago, Evercore analyst Amit Daryanani wrote, "The impact from sideloading will likely be minimal, and we expect the App Store to remain the main avenue for app discovery, as it's unlikely consumers will be interested in this more complex method of downloading an app." There are also significant security concerns with sideloading, which may give Apple some flexibility in how they implement this feature. Some highly controlled system, perhaps? Thinking along a similar line as Daryanani last December was Morgan Stanley analyst Eric Woodring. According to his note from close to a year ago, he and his didn't believe this potential change presented a material risk to Apple's App Store or services revenue or ecosystem strength. The way they saw it, even if the sideloading and third-party App Store things happen, and if every App Store user in the EU bugged out, bringing Apple's App Store sales commissions to zero, Woodring said it would equate to just a 4% hit to services revenue, a 1% hit to Apple's total revenue, and about a 2.5% hit to Apple's earnings per share. Woodring's thinking on the issue has not changed a lot in the last 11 months. Just last week, TechCrunch had a note from Morgan Stanley indicating that while Apple is likely to begin third-party app stores on device in Europe relatively soon, the firm's analysts believe Apple is well positioned to compete should these changes take place due to the App Store's security, centralization, and convenience, limiting the potential user experience and/or profit and loss impact. Remember me telling you yesterday of the biggest gripe iFixit had around the latest MacBook Pro models? In their teardown video, the thing that iFixit said they liked least about the machine was Apple's decision to keep pairing components to the logic board. That means for the best possible repair, people have to get replacement parts from Apple, and generally speaking, have repairs performed either by Apple or an Apple-authorized service provider, rather than the shop around the corner. Well, unless the shop around the corner is an Apple store or an Apple-authorized service provider, but you get the point. In a turn of events that could be a crazy coincidence, the New York Times ran a lengthy piece Sunday castigating the Cupertino company for software locking replacement parts to devices and any repairs performed on those devices. Apple says it's a safety and quality issue. iFixit, quoted in the New York Times piece, and others say it's about control, likely to get more money. According to the report, Apple's grip on the repairs creates an incentive for customers to spend up to $200 on Apple Care, which provides free battery replacements and screen repairs. Apple collects an estimated $9 billion annually for the service. The Times does not say from whence that estimate came. A day later, 9to5Mac ran a piece under the headline, "Parts pairing looks set to be Apple's next right-to-repair battle," based largely on a piece from The Verge. The right-to-repair movement is just getting started. So this is going to be fun. More news in a moment, but first a word from today's sponsor, Green Chef, the #1 meal kit for eating well. If you're looking for meals you can feel good about, you're looking for Green Chef. You can feel good about the ingredients, with seasonal recipes featuring certified organic fruits and vegetables, organic cage-free eggs, and sustainably sourced seafood. You can feel good from a health standpoint. Every Green Chef customer gets a free session with their registered dietitians who can walk you through how to make clean eating work for you. You can feel good about reducing food waste. Green Chef meals do that by up to 23% versus shopping at the grocery store. Now owned by HelloFresh, Green Chef puts a clean spin on meal kits. But even if you didn't care about that, it is worth trying just for the taste. Every Green Chef meal I've had has been delightful. Every one. For Green Chef's best deal of the year, get $250 off with code MOK250 at greenchef.com/MOK250. Feel your best this holiday season with Green Chef. Go to greenchef.com/MOK250. Again, get $250 off with code MOK250 at greenchef.com/MOK250. If you're running the public beta of iOS 17.2, it looks like you can go ahead and start capturing spatial video. Spatial video is the 3D video that'll be viewable through the upcoming mixed reality headset, Apple Vision Pro. We've known since the introduction of iPhone 15 Pro and iPhone 15 Pro Max that those devices would be able to capture spatial video, but we didn't know when. Last Thursday, Apple released the second developer beta of iOS 17.2, activating the 3D video capture. A day later, Apple released the second public beta of iOS 17.2 to its public testing program. While it stood to reason that that meant public testers could start shooting spatial video, I had not seen that stated anywhere. Now I have. The site UploadVR says the function is now active for folks running the iOS 17.2 public beta. One of the games in Apple Arcade is up for an award. Apple Insider says Hello Kitty Island Adventure has been nominated for Best Mobile Game at the Game Awards. The Game Awards sounds made up. In fairness, it's an awards event. It is made up, as are awards. But seriously, it sounds like something made up for an 80s movie, doesn't it? Or a Disney kids show. But it's a thing, having happened for the past 9 years after the Spike Video Game Awards ended their 10-year run. As for Hello Kitty Island Adventure, developers describe it as a cozy adventure with Hello Kitty and friends, where you help restore an abandoned island to its former glory. And now, it's an award-nominated cozy adventure. The competition looks fierce, with HK and crew going up against Final Fantasy VII Ever Crisis, Honkai, Star Rail, Monster Hunter Now, and Terra Nil. This is not Apple Arcade's first turn at the Game Awards, though it's not a mainstay there. Apple Insider says the titles Sayonara Wild Hearts, Grindstone, and What the Gulf were nominated for awards in 2019, while Fantasian was nominated in 2021. Apple Arcade has yet to take home a Game Awards award. Its next chance hits next month. The Game Awards 2023 are scheduled to take place on Thursday, the 7th of December. And finally today, from an award nominee for Apple to a multiple award winner. Another piece from Apple Insider says the Apple TV Plus documentary, Still, a Michael J. Fox story, has cleaned up at this year's Critics' Choice Documentary Awards. Nominated in 5 categories, the doc took the win in all 5. They included Best Editing, Michael Hart, Best Narration, Michael J. Fox, Best Director, Davis Guggenheim, Best Biographical Documentary, and Best Documentary Feature. Big as the film's night was, it was not the only Apple TV Plus title to take home a trophy. The documentary John Lennon, Murder Without a Trial, tied with the HBO film Telemarketers for Best True Crime Documentary. macOS Ken, brought to you by me and sponsored by Green Chef. For Green Chef's best deal of the year, get $250 off with code MOK250 at greenchef.com/MOK250. This show is also supported by people like you, patrons through Patreon. Find out more and add your support at patreon.com/MacOSCan. Advertising handled by Backbeat Media. Online at backbeatmedia.com. You can reach me a couple of ways. Info at macoscan.com or call 716-780-4080. Until next time, that is news from macOS Ken. I'm Ken Ray.
Ciao.